A lot happened in the latest episode of Supergirl, and that's because it's the penultimate episode of season 5. Or at least, like, the makeshift penultimate episode, because, I mean, of course, it was cut short, and there was supposed to be an extra 3 episodes, but now we're not getting those 3 episodes. So next week's episode is the finale, and this was the episode before the finale of season 5. So a lot happened in this episode, and it was honestly a really good episode. So good episode, bad CGI. Like, I have to admit, the CGI in this episode was really trashy. Like, especially with the Martians and, well, by the way, quick spoiler warning. I mean, I think that's kind of obvious, but yeah, full spoilers in this video. But when the DEO collapses, the CGI on that looks so fake. Like, it just looked like an animated cartoon, just building crumbling and stuff. So that didn't really do anything there. So yeah, the CGI was pretty bad in this episode, but the episode overall itself was actually pretty good. We had a whole bunch of storylines going on all at once. Like Kelly and William were working together once again because they're still trying to get Andrea to stop with the obsidian platinum stuff, because Leviathan is basically just using that to their advantage. But Andrea isn't believing them at all. I mean, you'd think she'd at least look into it or something, but no, she really doesn't care, and she's like, well, if you don't like this, then you can just walk out the door and I'll fire you or whatever. So she's a really bad boss, and honestly, she shouldn't have that job. And she's a bad boss. Like, she's really bad at that. So I don't know where that's gonna go. I'm not sure if that storyline's gonna get wrapped up next week or not. But another storyline, which actually did get wrapped up this week, kind of, was with the non-Cherry storyline with Lex and Lena. So Lena was back in the prison with Steve, that one prisoner who was like, he was always getting bullied in there, but then she tested out the non-Cherry on all the inmates, and then everything was good. But while the Sun Eater was attacking during last episode, there was this guy in an elevator that just started freaking out. I don't know if he was claustrophobic or something, but he started freaking out, and then it turned into like a domino effect. So then, like, pretty much everyone in the prison started freaking out, except Steve, of course, because, you know, he cool. But then Lex had to go out and distract them while Lena was trying to fix everything. But in the end, what she ended up doing was actually just disabling non-Cherry, because that's when she realized that it wasn't going to work. Like, non-Cherry had failed, and there wasn't really much she could do about it. So she pretty much had to give up on that. And then that's when Lex's whole plan was pretty much exposed there, because he revealed that he knew non-Cherry was never going to work, but he needed her to think it would, so that when it failed, she would see how humans need to be led or controlled, or, you know, they can't control their own lives because they're just going to fill it with violence. But that didn't end up working out for him, because then she just called him a monster. And now she's finally realized that he's a monster again, after last season when she realized it and she killed him. But then things changed after Crisis and everything. So yeah, I really like this scene, because you really saw Lex show his true colors. He was really terrifying and angry in the scene, and I love that, honestly. So it was really cool to see that. I enjoyed seeing all of that there. So I think that was really cool. But another storyline in this episode, which was probably the smallest, was between the two Martians, Martian Manhunter and Miss Martian, aka J'onn J'onzz and M'gann. I really love this storyline. J'onn's probably my favorite character on the show. I wish he got more screen time. He did have a big story arc in the first half of the season with his brother and everything, but I still wish he was in the show more. And in this episode, we saw the relationship grow between him and M'gann, and then in the end, of course, they kissed, because there's always been that flirtation between them. And when she used to be on the show, like, all the time, I can't remember if they were actually in a relationship back then, or if it was kind of just, like, flirtatious and, like, nothing was ever official. But now I guess things are official, and since he's barely on the show, and he has this relationship, and Magon's been telling him, like, how Mars is so much better now because his brother's there, and that's because of what Jean did, and that there's starting to become peaceful on Mars. So that's kind of starting to make me think that maybe Jean's leaving the show. I honestly think that's what would be best for the character. I love the character, but he really does nothing on this show, to be honest. And with all the other stuff they're doing on this show, they really can't afford to do the CGI for him in Martian form while doing everything else. Because, like I said, the CGI in this episode was really bad. But there have been rumors about a Martian Manhunter spin-off show. So that's a great idea. I would love to see that. That would be one of the best things ever. So this would be the best opportunity to do it. Have him go off, live on Mars, and then have him be with Magon and his brother, and then see what life on Mars is like more of. So I would love to see a show like that. I'm not sure if this is actually going to happen, but I think this would be a great opportunity for him to leave the show and get his own show. Not sure how likely it is, but I hope it happens. In other storylines, we have Pete. Pete is returned, and it's actually Pete this time, not Jean's brother controlling him and everything. So yeah, that was cool seeing him. I mean, always great to have Sean Astin on, whatever. He's on everything nowadays, honestly. So it was nice seeing him. But he and Alex were working on trying to investigate Leviathan, and at any time he tries to mention the word Leviathan or does research on it, it blocks him out, which never happens when he does anything else. So we're not sure what's happening there. But they were being watched by someone, so I'm not sure. Maybe that'll get wrapped up next episode. But also at the end of the episode, while we're talking about Alex, she and Kelly decided that they're going to become vigilantes, but they need, like, masks and suits because they need to be able to hide their identities. So they're getting a full-on suit and mask, and they're going to be superheroes. I imagine one of them is going to become the new Guardian, probably Kelly, because we've seen her use the shield before, and her brother was Guardian, so that would make sense. But other than that, the main storyline of the episode was, of course, with Kara and Brainy and Nia. So they fought Ramakan, they captured him, brought him to the DEO, and then Brainy was interrogating him, but he was speaking in Ramakan's language so that Kara and Nia wouldn't understand what he was saying. But then turns out Ramakan's whole plan was to get in the DEO, and he was powerful enough to be able to break out of the restraints, and then he basically destroyed the DEO. He got a whole bunch of kryptonite, weakened Supergirl. He destroyed the whole DEO. Like I said, the CGI in this was super bad. And I actually kind of already knew that the DEO was getting destroyed. I didn't know it was happening in this episode, but I knew that it was going to happen some point this season. And I don't know if they're going to get a new base. I mean, I'm not sure what's going to happen with the DEO. Maybe it's just going to disband. Maybe things will finally... Maybe Team Supergirl, or the Super Friends as they call each other, will come back together, and then they'll go hang out in the Watchtower, Martian Manhunter's HQ, with Alex and Jean and Kara. So I think that'd be a great idea, but I don't know what's going to happen with the DEO. Don't know if we're getting a new one, but we'll have to wait and see on that. Of course, we had the little bit of confrontation between Nia and Brainy, but not really much happening there. He's starting to realize that he shouldn't be trusting Lex, but we're going to have some big stuff with Lex in the next episode. And yeah, so the episode basically ends off with a little bit of a tease with Gemma and Lex, because Lex has finally gotten the invite to be on the Leviathan ship, because that's been his whole goal this season. Or at least that's pretty much what we found out last episode. So that he finally got the invite, that's working there. And actually something interesting about Gemma that I did not find out until this week is that that's Mrs. Wheeler from Stranger Things. I didn't know that. I didn't know that was the same actress. I didn't even notice. I never had a moment like, oh hey, she looks like her. No, I never even realized. But the final scene of the episode is Lena shows up at Kara's apartment, and then they basically become friends again, and then they're like, hey, we should work together to try and stop Lex and Leviathan and everything. So that's gonna happen. And next week is the finale, at least for now. Not sure what's gonna happen, just know it's heavily involving Lex and Leviathan and, all that stuff. But yeah, what did you guys think about this episode? Please let me know all your thoughts on it down in the comments below. Smash the subscribe button if you want to see more content from me, so that I can keep you up to date on everything that happens on Supergirl and everything that happens in the DC life.